So let me start with a funny story, imaginary story. There was a great wrestler in the service of the Maharaja of Mysore, and one day he declared, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock I will carry the Chamundi Hills on my head and walk for 1 mile. So naturally the curiosity of the people was roused, and a large number of people had gathered at the foot of the Chamundi Hills. So the wrestler also came there. Then showed his muscular power and was just quietly sitting on the stone bench nearby. He was not at all attempting to carry the Chamundi Hills. So naturally the people asked him, "What's the matter? You declared that you would carry the Chamundi Hills on your head and walk for a mile, but you are still sitting quiet." "Yes, I am waiting for you people to lift it up and keep it on my head. I told you only that I will carry it on my head and walk. I didn't say that I will lift it and keep it on my head." So my subject is also like that. Mind control made easy, definitely. But you have to catch hold of your mind and give it to me, then I will see how it can be controlled. Actually, this is a big problem that all the sadhakas in spiritual life are struggling to control or facing. There is one Amrita Bindu Upanishad. It says, Manayeva manushyanam karanam bandhamokshayoho bandhaya vishayasaktam muktyai nirvishayam smritam. Ultimately, it is the mind that is responsible for our bondage and our liberation. If the mind is freed from all attachment to the sense objects, if it is taken above the attractions of the sense objects, then it frees us from the transmigratory existence. On the other hand, if it is attached to the sense organs and sense objects, it binds us more and more. In the Mundaka Upanishad, there is a very nice question asked in the very beginning. Kasminnu bhagavo vijñāte sarvamidam vijñātam bhavati. So the sages have gone to their guru. They are asking him, Angiras, what is that by knowing which everything else is known? So what is that by controlling which everything is controlled? That is the mind. So controlling the mind is the primary task, primary discipline of spiritual life, and once we are able to do that, we can lead a peaceful life. Sometime during 1965 or 66, there was a very interesting article in the Reader's Digest. The general caption was, "The most unforgettable character I have met." Under that, different people used to write their experiences, essays. So one essay I still remember very well. One American businessman called his young son, who was hardly 16 or 18 years old, and told him, "My dear boy, whatever you want to have in life to make you happy, make a list of all those things. I will try to get you all those things. This boy struggled for 2 or 3 days, then prepared a long list of 16 items. So naturally we can imagine what those items are. Then when the paper was kept on the father's table, he took his red pencil and just struck off the entire list, and on the other side he wrote peace of mind. P-E-A-C, not P-I-E-C. Then he told him, look here, my dear boy, if you have this, there is no need to have these 16 items. On the other hand, if you have all the 16 and you don't have this, it is useless. So, this is how I learnt a great lesson from my father, that businessman says. Now let us go back to our subject. Swamiji was giving a lecture in London, and during the course of his talk, it is said that he used the word Hindu psychology. Then one of the members of the audience, an Englishman, stood up and very derisively asked the Swami, well, Swami, does Hinduism have a psychology at all? And you can imagine, the lion was roused. Swamiji said, yes, Hinduism, my religion, does have a psychology. Whereas your psychology deals with sick and abnormal minds, my psychology deals with healthy and supernormal minds. He was referring to the Freudian psychology and the yoga psychology of Patanjali. And he took it as a challenge and started Raj Yoga classes in London. In fact, they say, very often during the classes, he would just go into states of samadhi. During that period, the photograph that was taken is here now. They say this is one of those photographs when he was conducting the Raj Yoga classes. Our Hindu philosophical systems are technically called as darshanas. So darshana, these great sages, saints and seers have actually seen the truth in the depths of their meditation, then they have given what they have experienced. That is why they are called as darshanas. They are not intellectual speculations. Out of the 6 darshanas known as the 6 systems of Indian philosophy, Astika darshanas, Sankhya and Yoga darshanas, they go together. Sankhya provides the philosophical basis, Yoga develops the practical techniques. The only difference is Sankhya does not accept Ishvara, whereas Yoga system accepts, in addition to Prakriti and Purusha, Ishvara also. So, the Yoga system, it takes it for granted all the philosophical principles taught by the Sankhya system, but pays more attention, the greatest attention, to controlling the mind. Coming to the word yoga, is it an ancient concept or was it developed much later? That is the question. But scholars say no, it is a very ancient concept. It is already there even in the Rig Veda. And later on we find the idea, the teaching, the expansion and explanation in the Kathopanishad and Shvetashvatara Upanishads. According to our Hindu scriptures, every science has a parampara, a tradition. Now this tradition of yoga starts from Hiranyagarbha himself, Chaturmukha Brahma, you can say. Patanjali comes in that series. He did not invent yoga. He just gathered all the information that was available during his time, systematized it, and gave it in the form of a sutra work. Well, the tradition says that Patanjali was the incarnation of Adishesha. It is said that he used to teach seating himself behind a curtain. The disciples would sit on the opposite side, and the words and phrases and explanations would flow constantly and continuously. One day one of the disciples was surprised. He wanted to know why the Guru sits behind the curtain. So he just removed the curtain in one corner and he saw Adishesha. That is how the story goes. And also, according to our tradition, Patanjali had written 3 works. Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacham Malam Sharirasya Tu Vaidyakena Yopakarottam Pravaram Muninam Patanjalim Pranjalihi Anatosmi. So he wrote one work for purifying the body, Ayurvedic work, but that is not available now. The second one for purifying speech. So Patanjali has written a commentary on the Panini Sutras. Patanjali's Bhashya is there. And the third one is Chittasya, purification of the mind through the Yoga Sutras. Patanjali starts his work with the famous sutra Atha Yoga Anushasanam. Athato Bhakti Vyakhyasyaamaha Athato Brahma Jigyasa. This is the way the other sutra works begin. There is jignasa, enquiry about it. But here there is no question of enquiry at all. Everything is settled and the Guru is just giving the command. Atha Yoga Anushasanam. Following my teachers who have given these teachings to me, I am telling you, you just take it, you obey it, you follow it, that's all. Then, what is Chitta? Yogaha Chitta Vritti Nirodhaha, he says. Yoga means controlling the modifications of the mind. Then he gives the definition of the word Chitta. So mind has got several aspects of functioning, and he defines the Vyasa Bhashya, the commentary on the sutras, gives all these details. Swami Vivekananda gives a very nice explanation in the beginning of his series of lectures on Raj Yoga. He says, suppose there is a lake of water. The whole lake is absolutely calm and quiet. So when you go and look into it, you are able to see the reflection of your face. Probably if there is a gold coin, let us say, at the bottom of the lake, you are able to see that. But if due to a gust of wind, or if somebody throws a stone into it, the waves will rise. As a result of that, the water is disturbed. Then you are not able to see what is at the bottom of the lake. And even if you look at your face, the reflection of your face, either you won't see it or you will see a distorted picture. So same thing can be applied to the mind also. Mind is constantly rising in the form of vrittis or waves. If you succeed in suppressing, controlling, eliminating all these chitta vrittis, then automatically the Atman who is behind this, as Kenopanishad says, the mind works because of the force, the Atman power behind it. Kene shitam patati preshitam manaha, and so on. So, you are able to see the Atman behind it, you are able to see your own true nature through that. That means it is absolutely necessary to control the chitta or the modifications of the mind. Before going into greater details, Patanjali also gives us yoga antarayas. Antarayati. Between me and the goal, it comes in between and disturbs. So antaraya is practically the obstacles that we have to face in the practice of yoga. Yesterday I have referred to them. I can just put before you the same thing briefly. Vyadhi or physical disease, Sthana mental laziness, Samshaya doubts and misgivings, Pramada is confusion, and then Alasya physical laziness, Avirati absence of Vairagya, then Bhranti Darshana, Alabdha Bhumikatva, Anavasthitatva, which I have already explained yesterday. So you see something and then mistake it for something else, and you think you have attained the goal of your life, but not. The mind pulls it back due to old samskaras. Then coming to the actual control of the mind, Patanjali says, Abhyasa Vairagyabhyam tan nirodhaha. The modifications of the mind, even though they may appear to be very difficult to control, it is possible to control them through Abhyasa and through Vairagya. Again, these two concepts have been explained in great detail in the next two sutras. Tatra sthitau yatnaha abhyasaha. With great difficulty, you control the mind. Maybe for a few seconds, it gets concentrated on the object of meditation. That is the sthiti you have attained. In that sthiti or condition, you want to keep it, continue it. So the repeated efforts you put to keep that mind in that state of control, that is called abhyasa. Now, this abhyasa can become strong only when there are three conditions. One is, it must be practiced for a long time. Satu dirghakala nairantarya satkara asevito dridhabhumihi. Second condition is, there must be no breaks, it must be continuous. Suppose you are learning Veena, 3 months, vigorous practice. Afterwards, you give a holiday for 6 months. Then what will happen? Again, you have to start from ABC. So, yoga is also like that. It must be nirantara. Then third condition is satkara. You must love and like your spiritual practice. If you think that it is a punishment, it is not going to help you. A boy has taken Gayatri Mantra and he has to perform Sandhya. The mother says, unless you complete the Sandhya Vandanam, I will not give you coffee and tiffin. And the boy is very eager to get his coffee and tiffin. Within 5 minutes he finishes it off. So that is useless. So satkara, we have to love and like our spiritual practice, then it will be very, very effective. That is about abhyasa. Then coming to vairagya, drishta anushravika vishaya vitrishnasya vashikara samgya vairagyam. There is a work called Jivan Mukti Viveka by Vidyaranya. There, in the 3rd chapter, Manonasha Prakarana, he has taken the important sutras from the Yoga Sutras and given a beautiful commentary, especially on this sutra about Vairagya. He says Vairagya has got 4 stages. Only the 4th and final stage is described here. The first stage, the yogi starts. He is interested in practicing yoga. He tries to give up certain things, control the mind and start. That is the first stage. Then comes the second stage. After 6 months or 1 year, he thinks what are the various evil samskaras or evil qualities that are there in my mind. Now through the practice of yoga, to what extent have I controlled them? To what extent have I not controlled them? He finds out. So then he separates. So this one I have control, not necessary to concentrate on it. This one I have not control, let me concentrate more. Then comes the third stage where the objects of temptation may be there, that mind is not attracted towards that. But in the mind, the samskara continues to be there, and as a result of that, one day again they may come up. There is a saying attributed to anyhow, Agnishesha, Shatrushesha and Rogashesha should not be left, because they can come again and destroy you. So, the last stage according to Vidyaranya is, as Kalidasa puts it, Vikara heto sati vikriyante yesham na chetamsi tayeva dhiraha. This man is fully capable of enjoying all the good things of life. Senses are strong, body is strong, objects of temptations are there in front of him. He is absolutely free to take them and enjoy them, but his mind is so well controlled that the mind will not go towards them at all. That is the absolute state of Vairagya, and that is what is being referred to in the sutras. Then Patanjali gives us a number of hints. You know, we human beings in general are very much interested in shortcuts. And there are, of course, great religious teachers who want to show that they know yoga very well, and they want to convince you that it is very complicated and only they can teach you the method. And for that there is a saying in Sanskrit, Dravida Pranayama. Normally Pranayama is done like this, Dravida Pranayama is done like this. Well, that apart, so shortcuts are also given by Patanjali. Tat pratishedhartham ekatattva abhyasaha. So how to control these modifications of the mind? You put the opposite thoughts and control them. Maitri karuna muditopekshanam sukha dukkha punya apunya vishayanam bhavanatah chitta prasadanam. Because it is a long sutra. There is a person who is happy. Instead of feeling jealous, you should feel friendship towards that person. Somebody is suffering, you should sympathize with him. So like that, by cultivating some good qualities in the mind, it is possible to slowly control the modifications of the mind. Then comes pranayama. Through pranayama also it is possible to slowly control the mind. One more hint he has given, Vitaraga Vishayam Va Chittam. Suppose there is a person, he has controlled his mind very well. There is no attachment in his mind towards the sense objects. He is free from all such attachments. So if we can meditate upon his mind, which is free from all attachments, then we will be able to concentrate our mind on the object of meditation. Or it comes to this, we try to meditate upon saints and sages and seers, that will help us to control our mind. Finally he says, Yathabhimata Dhyanadva. Alright, you can try to meditate upon any object which you like, but which has been sanctioned by the scriptures. That is important. So by this method, you will be able to control the modifications of the mind. Then comes the famous Ashtangas, the 8 steps: Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhaya, Ashtau, Angani. This is the most important part or aspect of Yoga Sutras, and also most important aspect of spiritual practice also. So first is Ahimsa, not harming anybody in thought, word and deed. Well, here I would like to give or utter one word of warning. These are called as Sarvabhauma Mahavrata for the sake of yogis, sannyasins. In the case of a yogi or a sannyasin who has dedicated his life entirely for God realization, they are absolute. No question of any exemption or exception. But in the case of others, exemptions and exceptions are given. So it becomes Anuvrata in their case. Here it is Mahavrata, there it is Anuvrata. So in the case of the householders, you try to follow them as much as possible, as best as possible, that is within your limits. So Ahimsa is not harming others in thought, word and deed. Then comes Satya. Satya is speaking the truth and keeping the word that one has given to others. Satyam bruyat priyam bruyat, na bruyat satyam apriyam. Well, if we have to tell an unpleasant truth to others, we have to put it in as nice a language as possible. Sometimes it happens in our life. We have to speak an unpleasant truth. We have to tell others. But we should do it in a very tactful and very clever way. I am reminded of a story. Once Akbar had a dream in which he saw that he had lost all the 32 teeth. So when he got up, he was very much dejected. He called the court astrologer, and after some calculations, the astrologer told him it is a very bad dream. Before your very eyes, all your friends and relatives will die. So naturally, he was very much upset. Then, of course, our great friend Birbal came to him and asked him, what is the matter? You seem to be very much upset. He told him, this is what has happened. Then Birbal told him, Baba, why did you not ask me? I also have studied astrology. There is no science which he has not studied, of course. Alright, what does your science say? Your astrology? He also made some calculations and said, oh, it's a wonderful dream. What does it say? In the midst of all your friends and relatives, you will live the longest. If you live the longest, then other people will die before your very eyes. But you put it in the positive way. So, whenever we have to speak an unpleasant truth, it must be truth, it may be unpleasant, but we must be tactful. Without hurting other people, can we tell the truth. Then comes, of course, Asteya, not stealing things, not taking things which don't belong to us. Well, incidentally, I am reminded of one incident in the life of Krishna and Karna which comes in the Mahabharata. Karna is fighting Arjuna, and suddenly he finds that Shalya has left him, so his Ratha has got aground, and he tells Arjuna, you please wait for some time and I lift the Ratha up, chariot, then we can resume the fighting. Finish that fellow. Then Karna protested. It is anyaya and it is adharma and so on and so forth. Then Krishna gives him a reply. One entire section, 46 shlokas. Kvate dharmastadagataha, kvate dharmastadagataha. When you molested Draupadi, where did your dharma go? When you people made Bhima eat poisonous food, where did it go? When you cheated them by the game of dice, where did it go? So those who have not followed dharma in their life, they have no right even to utter the word dharma. Then we come to brahmacharya, controlling the. Actually, the word brahmacharya can be interpreted at three levels. Brahmani charya. The mind is constantly and continuously moving at the level of Brahman or God. So there is no body consciousness. Then second interpretation is Brahma is Veda. At the time of studying the Vedas, the brahmacharis are expected to follow some strict disciplines. That is brahmacharya. Thirdly, controlling the sexual instinct. It is very necessary in spiritual life. Then comes aparigraha, not accepting gifts more than what is absolutely necessary for the maintenance of body. They say that if you accept gifts unnecessarily, a little of the samskara of the person who gives comes to you, evil samskaras mostly, and disturbs you from the bottom. And we find in Sri Ramakrishna's case, his father, he never accepted any gift from other people. Then comes the second group of disciplines, niyama. First is shaucha, then santosha, tapas, swadhyaya, ishvara, pranidhana. Shaucha is physical cleanliness, keeping the body clean and pure, and also the surroundings, and also try to keep the mind also pure. Of course, the purity of mind comes in the first group itself. The second quality under niyama is santosha. Santosha means tripti, yathalabha paritushtihi, sannihita sadhanat adhikasya anupaditsa. Whatever we have on hand, let us try to manage with that. Let us not be greedy to get more. So let there be satisfaction in the mind, tripti in the mind. Then comes tapas, dvandva sahanam, putting up with the opposite experiences in life. Lord Krishna gives a very nice description of tapas in the 17th chapter. Controlling the body, controlling the speech, controlling the mind. Then swadhyaya. So swadhyaya is actually studying the Vedas. That is one meaning. And the other meaning is repeating the mantras like Gayatri. Swadhyayo adhyetavyaha. Swadhyaya Gayatri prabhritinam mantranam adhyanam. Moksha shastranam adhyanam pranava japova. So, japa of pranava or the mantra we have received from our Guru, that can be considered as swadhyaya. Long back when I was a student, I came into contact with a weird Tyagi Shanji, was a very great scholar. I was not a student of Sanskrit, so very often he would urge me, you learn Sanskrit, try to read the scriptures in the original. Then one day I asked him, well Swamiji, is it for God realization, is it necessary to learn Sanskrit? He laughed and said, no. Then why are you urging me to learn Sanskrit? He said, you see, how long can you meditate? 4, 5, 6 hours at the most, if you are a good sadhaka. What will you do the rest of the time? The samskaras of the previous lives, evil samskaras, they will come up. Suppose you have studied Sanskrit and you have studied the original Upanishads and the Gita, then they will rouse the good thoughts and feelings and tendencies in the mind and help you in spiritual practice. Suppose we are simply sitting without doing anything. Some evil samskara comes up. Immediately, along with that, a good thought taken from the scripture also can come. Name bhakta pranashyati, Gita says, yoga kshemam vahamyaham, and so on and so forth. So such sentences, which have been embedded in our mind deeply, they will come up and help us. So, Swadhyaya, studying of the scriptures, is also very necessary and very helpful in spiritual life. Then comes Ishvara Pranidhana, devotion to Ishvara and offering the fruits and results of our actions at the feet of the Lord. Kamato akamato vapi yat karomi shubhashubham tat sarvam tvai vinyasya tat prayuktaha karomyaham. One saying which says, whatever work I have done, whether with desire or without desire, all that I offer at your holy feet. Now these are the 5 plus 5, 10 niyamas, yamas and niyamas given in the Yoga Sutras. There is another work, very famous work and ancient work. It is called Yoga Yajnavalkya. That also gives 10 niyamas, 10 yamas and niyamas. Tapas, Santosha, Stikyam and so on. Of course, those who are interested in spiritual practice can go through such books also, and some of these ideas can be taken up. Then, Patanjali has given the fruits and results of observing all these rules. Because 12 years is the period. Ahimsa, Satya, Steya and so on. If any yogi has practiced them with unbroken continuity for full 12 years, he will get such and such results. Ahimsayam pratisthayam tat sanidhau vairatyagaha. So if a person is well established in ahimsa, then in his presence there is no enmity. People have seen it in the ashram of Ramana Maharshi. So, according to the commentators, a cow and a lion can live in happiness with mutual friendship and understanding in the presence of this great yogi. But the power of ahimsa is so strong in him, it can affect the minds of other people also and remove all the tendency for himsa. This may appear to be a little exaggeration, but I will tell you one incident which happened in our college. 1974-75 was the first batch of B.Ed students in that Mysore B.Ed college where I was the head, Ramakrishna Institute of Moral and Spiritual Education. So the student union secretary was a very troublesome fellow. So from the beginning to the end, he tried to create problems for us. Somehow we managed to control him. Finally, the examination was over. The next day, all the boys had to leave the campus. And suddenly this boy came to me and said, "Oh Swamiji, I want a personal interview with you." "All right, come." Then he sat and started his autobiography. I was a very bad student, very mischievous fellow. In all the schools and colleges I have studied, have been a source of trouble for the management and the staff. When I came to Mysore, I was passing through Mysore to go to some other place. Then somebody said Ramakrishna Mission has started a very nice B.Ed degree college. I came and saw, I was very much impressed, I joined. But from the day one, though I have been trying to create problems and troubles for you all, I could not. Why? There is something in your prayer hall, Swamiji. This is how he put it. We have a beautiful prayer hall, a marble image of Sri Ramakrishna. Every day, once in the morning, once in the evening, 100 students sit together, we pray together, we chant together, we meditate together. And he says, he told me, the moment I sat in the prayer hall, all the evil thoughts would be pushed out. Somehow the mind would become calm. Now I have completely transformed and changed. You please forgive me. Teach me how to meditate on God. In fact, I was very, very happy that at least the institution's policy and atmosphere have helped. So that is exactly what Yoga Sutra is telling us. Ahimsa, if your mind is so clean and pure, it will automatically work on the others also. Ahimsayam pratisthayam tat sanidhau vairatyagaha. Satya pratisthayam kriya phala ashrayatvam. If a person has observed truth for 12 years, then whatever he speaks will become the truth. Again, I have to go back to Tagishanji. During those days, the hostel boys, Sri Ramakrishna Vidyarthi Mandiram, the hostel is still there. The hostel boys had to come and work in the ashrama during the birthday celebrations of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother and all that. There were not many volunteers. So there was one boy, brilliant, and always used to get first ranks, and then he refused to work during the celebrations of Sri Ramakrishna's birthday. Why don't you want to work? Then he said, no, because my examination is there and I want to get a first rank. Then Swamiji casually told him, well, if you fail Sri Ramakrishna's work, the examination will fail you. Just like that. He might not have meant it, and unfortunately he failed. Afterwards he came and fell at the feet of Swamiji, and Swamiji told him, I am so sorry, I didn't mean it. Somehow the words came out of my mouth. So, when a person has observed truth for a long time, for full 12 years, whatever he speaks will become the truth. Brahmacharya nisthayam virya labhaha niretashaya samartham tadyuktena yogina kritaha shishyeshu upadeshaha sadhyaha phalatiti bhavaha. So if a person is established in brahmacharya, then he will be able to understand the scriptures very well, and also the upadesha he gives to the shishyas or disciples will become very effective in their life. Aparigrahasthairye janma kathamta sambodhaha. Suppose you are well established in aparigraha, you don't accept any gifts from other people, then you will have an intuitive insight into your own past life and the past life of other people. Janma kathamta sambodhaha. How it happens we cannot say. The scripture says, so we accept it. One person was consulting a person who had some psychic powers. He just closed his eyes for some time and said, well, you were a pujari in a Devi temple in your previous life. So how could he tell that? He had that special power. He had also predicted to so many other people. So just by looking at these people, they will be able to know about their past life, probably about future life also. You find it in the case of very great sages and saints. Then, Swadhyayad Ishtadevata Samprayogaha. So by the repetition of the divine name given to us, and also by the study of the Shastras, we will be able to realize our Ishtadevata. Samadhi Siddhihi Ishvara Pranidhanat. By devotion to the Lord, we will be able to get Samadhi in course of time. In fact, that the shortcut later on Patanjali himself says, Ishvara Pranidhana can give us Samadhi also. Then the next step is asana. Asana is the posture, the way we have to sit. There are many yogasanas, but they are all more or less exercises. The Padmasana is supposed to be the best. Sukhasana and Padmasana are the best for meditation. Then comes one word about food. People who are practicing yoga should be very careful about food. Take only sattvic food, avoiding rajasic and tamasic food. The description comes in the Bhagavad Gita. You can go through that. Then pranayama. Pranasya ayamaha. Suppose our mind is very much agitated, then we find that breathing becomes irregular, maybe fast, and sometimes even uncontrollable. On the other hand, if our mind is very calm and quiet due to restful sleep or some nice experience, the breathing becomes very slow. So that means there is an intimate connection between the process of breathing and the mind. So control the mind by controlling breath. So that is the basic principle behind pranayama, and there are standard pranayama exercises. They have to be learned from expert teachers. Once when I was in Mysore, one old man was brought by his son, and that old man was actually practically had become mad. I asked him what is the matter. He had read some books and practiced pranayama for 6 hours, 8 hours a day without knowing how to do it. As a result, the whole system had been completely upset. So he had to be sent to an expert yoga teacher. I don't know what happened after that. So these pranayama exercises, especially the kumbhaka, have to be learned from an expert teacher and practiced according to their directions. Then pratyahara, withdrawing the mind from the object of senses and not allowing them to go. Then comes dharana, dhyana and samadhi, the last 3 stages. So what is dharana? Deshabandhas chittasya dharana, fixing the mind on the object of meditation. Dharana. Then dhyana, a continuous flow of the mind. Samadhi is deep, absolute concentration. Probably this can be explained better by giving an example. Suppose there is a blackboard and you put some dots, one dot here, another dot there, another dot there. So that is dharana. Dots represent moments of concentration, the gaps between the dots, moments of moments of distraction. Gradually, when we practice more and more, the dots will come nearer and nearer. Ultimately, the dots will join together and it becomes a continuous dotted line, that is dhyana. If it becomes an absolute straight line, then it is samadhi. In samadhi, the definition is that the object of concentration is shining before your mind's eye. You are not even conscious or aware of yourself. Normally in dhyana, there is triputi. I am meditating upon such and such an object. But in the case of samadhi, I is forgotten, I am meditating is forgotten, only the object of concentration will be shining before the mind's eye. So when we reach that state, we are just one step below God realization or Atma Jnana. So from that state, the mind is pushed to the next state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, as the commentator himself says. Yogi need not make any special effort. That yogic power itself will push him to the next stage of life, of concentration. Then one word about the yoga siddhis. Dharana, dhyana and samadhi put together is technically called as samyama. So if you practice samyama on such and such things in such and such a way, you develop such and such powers. That is how the text and the commentary proceed. For instance, the yogi develops the 8 powers, Anima, Mahima, Laghima and so on. Hanuman is supposed to have had all those 8 powers. Sri Ramakrishna told Narendra, I have got the Anima, the Siddhis, Ashtasiddhis. If you want, I can give them to you. But Narendra refused. Can I realize God through that? No. But they will help you to help other people. Then let me first realize God, I don't want them. So he rejected that. Pratyayasya parachitta jnanam. So by concentrating upon the minds of other people, a yogi has already obtained this power of samyama. Suppose he wants to know what is happening in the mind of somebody else. If he just thinks of that person and try to concentrate on his mind, he will be able to know everything in his mind. There was one Swamiji in our order. He was a disciple of Mahapurush Maharaj. We used to call him as Pashupati Maharaj. He was the head of a South American center. Suddenly, he himself told us when he had come to Bangalore, suddenly he developed the power of reading the thoughts of other people. If somebody is coming, his whole mind is revealed to him. He told us, for a few days I enjoyed it, but afterwards I found it was a nuisance. I got my own problems. Now the problems of other people are being added to me. Then I immediately wrote to Mahapurush Maharaj. Mahapurush Maharaj wrote a postcard. By the time this postcard reaches your hand, this power will disappear. And it did. See, that is the power of the Guru. So, pratyayasya parachitta jnanam and so on. There is also the parasharira aveshaha. We have heard in the life of Shankaracharya that he entered into the dead body of the king and then he became alive and so on and so forth. So such powers are also possible according to Patanjali. One more siddhi is there. There is, suppose I am sitting in front of you, you are seeing me. According to the Yoga Shastra, it is not merely the external light that is responsible for your seeing me. There is something in me which is coming out, let us say prana shakti. So as long as that is coming out and it is entering into your eyes, you are able to see me. Suppose the yogi is able to control that and withdraw that into himself, then I will not be seen by others. So that power is also mentioned here. Probably it is my problem is whenever I speak about such things, some memories come back and I feel like sharing them with you. I had a very intimate and close connection with the Revered Yatishwanji Maharaj, who had many yogic powers. One day around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, one of the devotees brought a photographer. Then, without consulting him, he said, Maharaj, I have brought the photographer, you please pose for the photo. Then Maharaj laughed. Oh, you want to take my photo? All right. He came and sat, and the photographer took 3 or 4 snaps during the olden days, the big camera. And after 2-3 days, when he developed, he found that all the 4 were empty. Then he came back running to his Swami and asked, my camera is very good, all the photos taken earlier and later they are there, but only yours is not there. Then the Swami laughed, all right, you take now, it will come. And he took it, he came. So he had those powers, and without his knowledge and permission when it was done, he wanted to withdraw it, and as a result it was not seen. So that type of yogic power is possible according to the Yoga Shastras. There are so many other powers also described, but Patanjali says they are obstacles in the path of yoga, in the path of samadhi, though they may be powers in the ordinary state of consciousness. And Sri Ramakrishna used to warn people about these yogic powers because they will take the person away from the spiritual path. But if the person has realized God, realized Atman, he has become a Jivan Mukta Purusha, then all these powers will continue to be there and he can use them for the good of the society. So before that, they are actually obstacles. After God realization, they can be a source of helping other people. Well, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras is a very big work. The notes I have prepared, probably 3 or 4 lectures will have to be delivered. Somehow I have tried to condense all that information and kept before you the gist of that work. But there are questions, then I will try to answer them.